Good morning, executives. I hope you're well. My name is Jan Sarapova Shun, and today I will be presenting the Strategic Economic Outlook for the Australian Agricultural Company AACO, this year's Executive Planning Day. I will walk you through four critical economic forces shaping our business environment and, more importantly, what each of them means for AACO's strategy going forward. This is very important and critical for the organization, strictly looking at real-world implications for our revenue, costs, export markets, and how we position ourselves competitively. So let's get into it. So today's presentations will cover four topics. 1. Aggregated demand and supply. 2. Inflation and monetary policy. 3. Tariffs and trade wars. And 4. Behavioral economics. So let's get started with the first topic. So topic 1, aggregated demand and aggregated supply. In 2026, the Australian government introduced income tax cut for all taxpayers. In the short run, as shown in figure 1, higher disposable income increased household spending, therefore shifting the aggregated demand curves to the right from 81 to 82. The result, real GDP will rise from Y1 to Y2, the price level will increase from PL1 to PL2, and the employment rises as firms hire more workers to meet demand. However, in the long run, Figure 2 tells a different story. As the economy heats up, workers demand higher wages, increasing production costs and shifting SRAS to the left, from SRAS 1 to SRAS 2. Real GDP returns to its natural level, but the price level will continue to rise. So the long run result is the same output, but a permanent higher cost. So what does this mean for AACO? In the short run, higher incomes means more spending on premium food. Our restaurant partner will see stronger demand and AACO will benefit from the higher domestic sales volume and stronger profitability. But in the long run, rising wages increase our labor costs across our pastoral operations. Transportation and processing costs also rises, squeezing our profit margin despite stronger demand. Our strategy is use the short-run opportunity now and lock in suppliers' contract before long-run cost pressure hits. So moving on to topic 2, inflation and monetary policy. Since COVID-19, Australia has experienced significant levels of inflation, surpassed 7% in late 2022. So what's the reason for this? Two sides, demand side and supply sides. The demand side, massive government stimulus and early superannuation leads to billions of household spending where the economy cannot keep up with. On the supply side, global supply chains were disrupted by COVID-19, port congestions, and factory shutdown. The Russia-Ukraine war drove up global energy and commodity prices. For AACO, this means higher fuel costs for our refrigerated transport across remote properties and higher feed costs, directly hitting our production expenses. Labor costs also rose sharply as agricultural workers became scarce. In response, the RBA has raised the cash rate aggressively from a historical low of 0.10% all the way to 4.35%, also known as the monetary policy. Looking at the table on the screen, the effect of this rate rise through three channels: price level, real GDP, and employment. On the price level, higher borrowing costs reduce consumers and business spending, easing inflationary rate back to RBA's target rate. On real GDP, as spending falls, production slows, and the economic growth weakens. And unemployment, as firms reduce output, they reduce hiring, and unemployment will rise. So what does this mean for AACO? The challenge is that higher interest rates means that our domestic customers will have less disposable income, therefore not spending it on our premium beef. This lowers our profit, and therefore capital investment in expanding our operations also becomes more expensive. However, we also have strategic opportunities. First, we can hedge our currency exposure, meaning that protecting your business from losses caused by fluctuation, exchange rate, therefore to protect export revenues. Second, we can prioritize FTA markets, particularly Japan, South Korea, and ASEAN, which offers growing premium beef demand in favorable access conditions. And third, we can leverage the inelastic demand for our premium Wagyu products, meaning our high-quality beef buyers are less price sensitive and are more likely to continue purchasing even in tighter economic conditions. Moving on to topic 3, with President Trump's election, tariffs have dominated global trade headlines. To understand the impact on AACO, let's take a look at figure 3. Before the tariff, the U.S. market price equal to the world price shown as PW. At this price, U.S. domestic beef product producers supply quantity Q1 while U.S. consumers demand quantity Q2. The demand between Q1 and Q2 is filled by imports, including Australian beef from us. Now, when Trump imposes a tariff on Australian beef, the effective price in the US market rises to BW plus the tariff. This has four effects. US domestic producers increase supplies from Q1 to Q3. They are not protected from cheaper competitions. US consumers reduce their purchases from Q2 to Q4. They're paying more. The volume of imports, including our beef, shrinks to the original gap down to a smaller gap between Q3 to Q4. And critically, two areas of deadweight loss emerges, representing economic transactions that would have benefited both buyers and sellers but no longer occur. So who wins and who loses? The winners are the US domestic beef producers who now enjoy higher price and greater market share since competitors are now lessened, and US federal government who collects the tariff. The losers are the US consumers who they pay higher prices now and Australian exporters, including us. So what are the effects on AACO? The immediate risk includes export volume loss as our beef becomes more expensive for the US buyers. Commodity-grade beef is particularly more vulnerable. This creates margin pressure, potentially forcing us to lower export prices to remain competitive. There's also a risk of brand displacement if US buyers switch to domestic alternatives during the tariff period. Rebuilding those relationships will take time. However, premium beef products, particularly Wagyu and grass-fed lines, have relatively inelastic demand. Research by Lusk and Tonzer confirms that high-quality beef buyers are less responsive to price increases. The data supported this. Despite the tariff, AACO US export actually grew, reflecting the loyalty and irreplaceability of our premium product. Our strategic response are clear. We strengthen and differentiate our premium offerings, we accelerate diversification into FTA markets, and we invest in building long-term customers' relationship in the US that outlast any tariff regime. So topic 4, behavioral economics, which is my favorite part of the presentation. Consumers and managers are influenced by cognitive shortcuts and emotions. Therefore, we cannot just solely rely on facts and calculations. We need to control consumers' emotions and their perceptions on our product. I will explain to you 4 key terms together. So, traditional economics assume perfect information and full rationality, but Hubert Simon's concept of bounded rationality shows us that people cannot always make fully rational decisions. We are limited by time, information, and cognitive capacity. So we rely on heuristic, which is a mental shortcut that produces systematic errors called biases. Understanding these biases give AACO a powerful evidence-based advantage. Here are some powerful examples. First, the framing effect. Frame A, this cut has 20% fat content. Frame B, this cut has 80% lean pure beef. Same product but completely different perceptions. Frame B wins every time. AACO should always frame our products positively, lean, natural, premium, never in terms of what they lacked. Second, anchoring bias. Without an anchor, our menu lists Wagyu MP5 at $90. Customer will think it's really expensive. But when you add another item, Wagyu MB9 and a tomahawk at $230, suddenly $90 feels like a great value. The anchor shifts the reference point, protecting our premium pricing across the entire range. So for another example, using loss aversion and scarcity bias, Kahneman and Tversky prospect theory tells us that losing something feels twice as painful as gaining something of equal value. Combining it with scarcity is extremely powerful. AACO will release a limited winter Wagyu collection and announce that it will be available for 12 weeks only, once sold out, not available until 2027. Buyers will immediately commit rather than risk missing out. The result, revenue will spike, higher order volume, and premium pricing fully justified by authentic scarcity. So to bring it all together, for strategic priorities for AACO in 2026, we should 1. Expand premium product by offering to capture the short-run demand boost from tax cut. 2. We should always diversify export markets through FTAs to reduce our US tariff exposures. 3. We should always manage financial risk by hedging currency exposure and locking in input contracts now. And lastly, to leverage behavioral insights in our pricing and marketing to increase perceived values and protect our margins. These 4 priorities positions AACO to navigate 2026 challenges and grow stronger. So to summarize our presentations, tax cuts boost demand but raise long-run costs. Inflation and high interest rates have pressure margins, but our premium positioning provides resilience. Trump's tariffs challenge our U.S. exports, but our Wagyu remains in demand. And behavioral economics gives us a powerful tool to influence buyers' decisions at lower cost. Thank you for your time today. I'm happy to take any questions.